A cultural anthropologist studying the meaning of marriage in a small village in India might consider local gender norms, existing family networks, laws regarding marriage, religious rules, and economic factors. This is an example of holism. So the answer for number 1 was A. So number 2, multiple choice. The question was, of the following, which is the least likely position for an applied anthropologist to hold? And the answer was B, a professor at a research university. So for question number 2, the answer was B. For number 3, widely known as the founder of American anthropology, Franz Boas insisted that B, while cultures differ, none can be ranked as inherently superior or inferior to any others. So for question number 3, the answer is B. For number 4, Lewis Henry Morgan's argument that all societies progress through the same stages of development, savagery, barbarism, and civilization, is an example of what type of thinking? And the answer is D, social evolutionalist. So for number 4, the answer is D. For number 5, that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, law, morals, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society is Tyler's definition of C, culture. So for question number 5, the answer is C. And for question 6, Bronislaw Malinowski is best known in anthropology for D, pioneering fieldwork methods, including participant observation. So for question number 6, the answer is D. For question number 7, Clifford Geertz's term thick description refers to the ethnographer's focus on B, the context and meanings of any cultural practice. So for question number 7, the answer is B. For question number 8, Margaret Mead's book, Coming of Age in Samoa, provided an example of cultural determinism in that the stress and anxiety of American adolescents were not experienced by Samoan youth who grew up in a different cultural environment. So for question number 8, the answer is C. On a kinship diagram, what does the figure of ego represent? So this is question number 9. What does the figure of ego represent? And the answer was B, the person from whose perspective the diagram is read. Question number 10, the 4 modes of subsistence recognized by anthropologists are foraging, pastoralism, horticulture, and agriculture. So question number 10, the answer is A. Question 11, all of the following are true about foragers except D. Foragers typically raise animals in order to supplement their protein with animal milk. So all of the options in question 11 are true except for option D. So number 12, in a pastoralist society, wealth and status are measured by the number of animals a person owns. So for question number 12, the answer is A. For question number 13, gifts are given without agreeing upon the exact value of the gift nor the time frame within which it should be returned. And this demonstrates C, generalized reciprocity. So question number 13, the answer was C. And number 14, which of the following is not a feature of commodities? And the answer is B, they retain the same value and meaning for their owners from production to consumption. So for question number 14, the answer was B. And number 15, the 4 levels of sociocultural integration characterized by Almond service are A, band, tribe, chiefdom, and state. So for number 15, the answer was A. Number 16, all of the following describe the big man of New Guinea except option D, he has the power to coerce others. So for 16, the answer was D. And 17, a society characterized by a permanent political office that belongs to the leader, a redistributive economy, social and political bonds made through marriages, and secret societies is most likely A, a chiefdom. So for number 17, the answer is A. Number 18, what was the primary motivation for warfare in early agricultural states? The answer was A, to increase surpluses of food and other agricultural products. So for number 18, the answer is A. And then 19, the world's worst refugee crisis. Millions of Syrian refugees who have flooded into neighboring countries to escape the violence in Syria are part of which of Apaturi's 5 scapes? And the answer is C, ethnoscape. So for 19, the answer was C. And number 20, the ways in which people manage the impressions of others was first referred to by Irving Goffman as D, presentation of self. So for number 20, the answer is D. And then 21, what are the 4 distinct phases of a social drama and in what order do they occur? The answer is breach, crisis, redress, and reintegration or schism. So the answer for 21 is B. And number 22, according to Clifford Geertz's The Interpretation of Cultures, what is the primary cultural significance of the Balinese cockfight? And the answer is B, it acts as a metaphor for social relationships, power dynamics, and status within Balinese society. And then number 23, which type of property exchange? So 22 was the answer was B. And then number 23, which type of property exchange demonstrates a higher value placed on women and their ability to work and produce children? And the answer is A, bride wealth. And then number 24, the term anthropologists use for a marriage between one woman and multiple husbands is C, polyandry. And 25, skin color in humans is represented in geography by a cline or a clinal pattern. The skin color cline means that a certain skin color may be more common in one region than another, but the variation is gradual and continuous. And then number 26, which of the following are the key elements of globalization according to Thomas Hyland Erickson? And the answer is A, disembedding, acceleration, standardization, interconnectedness, movement, mixing, vulnerability, and re-embedding. So for the next two parts, the first part was short answer questions. As you probably remember, they were worth 3 points in total, 1 point each. There's going to be a wide, variety of ways that you could answer these. So the first question was, what are the main reasons that race is not a biological category in humans? Some of the notes here that human species has no races. It has a phenotypic variation across vast spaces, not discontinuous features that pertain to self-contained groups that we label as races. These latter are fully socially constructed. So in your response, you want to mention that race is a social construct. So phenotypic variation is imbued with meaning by people, and collective identities are fashioned by way of mobilizing such differences. But the empirical scientific reality is that human variability of appearance is not accompanied by significant genetic difference among populations that may look different from one another. There's frequently greater genetic variability within populations than there is among different populations. So I'm going to guess that there was maybe a chapter assigned or a reading assigned that week that you could have drawn examples from. But it says that each answer, each response should have 3 to 5 sentences included. So I think there's more detail here than you probably needed. I guess you'll see when you get your exams. I'm not sure how the previous TA went about grading them. But like I said, there's obviously more than one way to respond to the question and different ways to word it. So these are just some notes from the lectures. And then obviously there's different examples that you can draw on. But it seems to give you some, if this is the way it was worded on the actual midterm, I guess you have a little bit of, there's some freedom in how you answer the question a bit. And then number 2, who are the Nasarima and what can we learn from them? So you probably want to mention Horace Minor, since it was his article, Body Ritual Among the Nasarima. You probably wanted to mention also that it's American spelled backward, that it's, a kind of joke essay, a tongue-in-cheek essay that contributes to our awareness of the way it is easy to exoticize a culture. It's a sort of play on what it would look like to approach Western culture from a more critical perspective. Or I guess it's a way to, it's a way to exoticize Western culture to show, just to demonstrate how, some of the pitfalls of the way that anthropologists have described other cultures in the past. It's a way to remind us to be cautious in the way that we describe other people and other places. And then number 3, what are some of the erroneous stories earlier anthropologists believed about the hunting way of life, and what is the anthropological reality? So here, the notes mention that it brings to bear an ideological understanding of gender differences, essentializing them by way of a distorted representation of the past. So the anthropological reality of hunter-gatherer adaptation is that it sees a division of labor according to sex and gender and evidences women's centrally important role in provisioning a larger proportion of a camp's caloric intake through their gathering and gardening activities. So I'm going to guess that there was a section that you did that focused more so on gender differences in hunter gathering. Maybe it was a section in a textbook or something, so you'd probably want to include some of the remarks from there, maybe an example. And the essays too, I'm sorry, the responses are really broad. Obviously, there's a lot of different directions you could go in. It doesn't look like they provided any kind of like word count or anything. I don't know what it was like in the exam. It just says write your answers in a section labeled part 3 and label each question with the correct number. And then the value for the total value for that section was 9 points, 4 points for the first one, 5 points for the second one. So the first question, if you had to pinpoint one historical innovation that was single-handedly responsible for the emergence of entrenched forms of inequality in human society, what would it be? Discuss reasons why said innovation may have done this. And I think the important thing here was to speak more to agriculture and specifically of grains. That if you talked more about, something surrounding agriculture or the adaptation of agriculture as a mechanism of production, let's say, talking about patrilineal descent or patriarchy or something like that, or the state, you could still get, I think, a good, decent grade on this, especially if it's well written. And if you demonstrate a good understanding. But I think the ideal was to kind of focus more in on agriculture in your write-up. And there's a few sections. I guess there was a class maybe entitled Power. That would be a good one to go review, those slides. And the corresponding section in the textbook had some examples that you could draw on. And then the second question for the essay questions was, how does religious ritual bring people together? Can you think of examples in which community is strengthened through different types of ritual? So here, obviously you want to speak to, I think you covered Emil Durkheim, so maybe mention him. There's mention of Victor Turner, and his vision of ritual and special emphasis on role of liminality. So there's different concepts from Victor Turner here that are mentioned, also Clifford Geertz. So there's different ways that you could have taken the essay questions. And there's lots of relevant concepts that you could mention as examples in this. And there was apparently a chapter on religion and a chapter on performance. And there's lots of good examples from there. So those ones are a little bit harder to cover considering that nobody has their um, physical copy of their exam. Once you pick those up and take a look and compare them to your grade, you can reach out if you have questions. I'll do my best to answer myself, in a meeting. But if we have to, we can escalate things to the professor. It's a little bit tricky because I didn't grade them, but I can do my best to take a look and see and answer any questions that you have. Are there any questions about what I went through right now? Okay, I'll assume it's good for now, and then people will email me um, with questions. So now that I've gone through that, sorry if that was boring. I'm gonna try doing whiteboard.